Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 408. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, hi.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad.
Cool.
How's it going with you?
Yeah, pretty good. This week on the show, we'll be talking about The Killing of Two Lovers, which is out now on VOD platforms. We'll also be going over some of what we're watching on the watch list and going over this week's new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be super helpful. Just a couple light housekeeping bits. New Saved by the 90s, we're recording that tomorrow. So as you're listening to this, that will either be in the midst of happening or will have already happened. So looking to get that out probably the end of this week or more likely next week, but I'll be sure to make a post about that when that's going to be dropping. I don't know if I'm ready to divulge the theme from this month yet.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
You know what? I can. Why not? I'm not gonna reveal any of the movies, but we're gonna be talking about disaster films.
Yes.
So, yeah, stay tuned for that. Also, Film Pulse is on the new Letterboxd HQ section, so I guess they rolled out this section for like teams and organizations, which are called HQs, and we're in that now. So if you go to letterboxd.com/filmpulse, we're gonna have like all of our reviews and everything collected there, so you can check that out if you don't want to go to the website proper. And that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then also, like, it links all of our individual profiles to that one, so you can see all of the people and stuff. I'm still not 100% sure, like, what all we can do with it yet, but yeah, it's up now, so you can check it out. With that, I think we can get into our review. We're talking about The Killing of Two Lovers. This is directed by Robert Machoyan. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I apologize. I have a synopsis here. David desperately tries to keep his family of 6 together during a separation from his wife. They both agree to see other people, but David struggles to grapple with his wife's new relationship. We have a review for this up on the site. Chris reviewed it for us. So we'll start with you, Kevin. What were your initial impressions of The Killing of Two Lovers?
The cinematography mixed with the location, that tandem does a lot of work for this movie. Really, really helps it out. And I mean, if you didn't have those things, this would just be completely mediocre, I think.
I agree, and I agree with that, and I'll add on the score too. I really liked the music in this. I thought that
I did too.
It's
very discordant.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting score. But I like the way that it's utilized too, and that it really only shows up when he's alone. So I thought that was good work. But like the story itself, it's tough because of the way that it starts out, which I get, like you're trying to make this like really this moment that like really grabs you, really pulls you in, but like it just completely ruins everything. Like it just undercuts it, because I know what this guy did or what he was planning on doing. So the rest of the movie, I'm just like, why are we showing him in like anything remotely sympathetic light? Like I don't care about this guy. Like he's an awful person.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one. I think that this is a movie that does kind of continue to subvert your expectations, especially how it opens and then where it goes from there. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a very, very subdued, very lo-fi kind of drama. I mean, even the title is, I think, somewhat misleading. I think that most people that read that title would take it on face value and be preparing for something that this movie's not. It really isn't. And I guess that was probably intentional. But I enjoyed it overall, and I agree with you that I was kind of grappling with how to feel about this the main character. Like, he does do this like potentially bad thing at the beginning of the movie, but for the rest
Potentially bad.
I mean, yes, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It was a potentially bad thing.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
but then for the rest of the movie, like, he's sort of portrayed as the good guy in this situation. At least to me, like, he was the one trying to make it work, and I think we were.
That's the thing that I have like a huge issue with, like, because you just take this guy that has all this simmering hate and rage, and it could cast him in this sympathetic, like, oh, he's just trying so hard, but like all you as a viewer, you just keep going back to that opening image, and you're like, no, like, this guy is not good in any way, shape, or form. Like, everyone needs to get away from him. Like, this is a very, very dangerous situation. Like, everyone needs to get, like, the kids should not be around him ever. Like, he should lose everything.
Well, one of the things that I was wondering that I don't think that they really get into too much is what was the catalyst for this break that these two are on? Like, what caused this? What were the factors that sparked this? Because he clearly has anger issues. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
And it's really weird how for most of the movie he seems to have it all under control, and he seems to be the stable one, when the wife is the one portrayed in sort of a more negative light.
Yeah, and I think that's the huge issue that I have with this movie is, number one, they don't give her a lot to do. She shows up occasionally, and it's mostly just her reacting to either his, potential temper tantrum, or him doing just a very bizarre thing, like going to the house at 2:00 in the morning and knocking on the kids' windows to tell Mitch Hedberg jokes,
Yeah.
which he thinks is a normal thing to do. And that's the writing too, is that it casts her in this, like, it's not, I don't feel like it's like aggressively negative on her part, but it's like passively negative portrayal of her, where it's just like, she's just not trying at all.
Right.
She's just given up.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, probably the right idea.
I think that a good example of that is that there's this one scene when they decide that they want to have a date night in order to sort of reconnect, and he has this whole night planned out, and she gets in the car and it's just like, let's just not do that. Let's just drive around the block once and then just sit here for a few minutes, and then I'll go back inside. And, like, that was a pretty shitty thing for her to do.
Yeah, but that, again, that's the writing that I think is bad, because I don't know if someone would do. I don't. Maybe this is based on actual things that happened, but it just seems odd that she's planned this other thing on the date night, and then she's like, "Let's just sit here." Like, she knows that the guy's coming to the house.
Yeah. Oh,
like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, she's making all these decisions that make absolutely no sense and just make her look like a very bad person.
She also she says that she didn't know that he was coming over when he does come over. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know." I did really love that scene, though. I love the scene how they kept the camera inside the car, but you could hear the conversation between the daughter and the guy, the boyfriend. And then you could hear Clayne Crawford's character, like, muttering things under his breath, like, during that whole exchange. I thought that was so great. I think that, just circling back to the cinematography and how everything looked, the camera work, the decisions that they made and how to frame this, I think that all of that was really incredible. I loved what they would mess around with the aspect ratio. I don't know if you noticed that at all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I really I love it. I love it when movies play with the aspect ratio in different ways. So I appreciated that a lot too. It's a gorgeous movie, like without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
And I think that this director has, I mean, his visual style is something that I will like instantly gravitate towards. Another one of his movies that I saw was God Bless the Child, and that movie was okay, but I freaking loved the look of that movie, the visuals.
Yeah. I mean, this one, right from the outset, like when he leaves the house through the window and you have that rough tracking shot that follows him the whole way down the street back to his father's house. I was just like, I was on board right away. But there was also that thought in the back of my head where I'm like, where are you going to go from here? Because I knew that it was like a marriage story. And like right off the bat, I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm not on this guy's side. Like, and he's going to be the main character of this. Like, I don't know if you're going to be able to, I don't think you're going to be able to turn this around. And then it got progressively worse, which each moment that he essentially interacts with his wife and the way that his wife's portrayed between these two guys that are both pieces of shit.
Yeah, but one of them's trying. You know, he's trying.
He wrote a song and everything.
Yeah, the song was pretty brutal. I gotta say, like that whole scene was pretty cringe.
Yeah, it's just it's a massive sad boy with anger issues, and I just don't care.
He's getting cucked.
I just don't care. I don't fucking care. It's just a man child.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed with the overall story. I still liked it overall. I still think that I would recommend checking it out. I think that it is definitely worth a look. And I liked the overall concept. I liked the sort of lo-fi nature of it, and I enjoyed my time with it. But I did have a couple hang-ups. Maybe not. Maybe I wasn't as hung up on that opening scene as you. I was able to sort of get past that, but I will agree that I think that it was kind of problematic because it was a struggle. Like it was a struggle to like him, to feel empathy for them, and to want this relationship to work out. I mean, maybe that's not how it was designed. Like, it seemed like that's how it was designed. Like that we as the audience want to see these two work it out and get back together. I mean, maybe that's just sort of human nature. Like we just naturally want relationships to work out, and we want to see that, love get rekindled or whatever. But
yeah,
it just didn't seem like it was going to be a good idea for that to happen. And
I do understand that. Like, I get that point where like we're privy to something that everyone else is not, except for the main character. So everyone else is, operating without that knowledge, and we're just kind of like sitting back, like, oh, if you only knew, you would continue not trying whatsoever to make this relationship work.
I mean, it didn't really seem like his wife was trying too hard to begin with. I mean, it seemed like she moved on pretty quickly with that.
That was the other thing too, where it's like
hers.
I couldn't ascertain like how, like, at what point did they do this like trial separation thing? Like,
it felt pretty recent.
Yeah, because for him it felt like it was recent, but for her it felt like this was, like, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't tell if like he just hasn't moved on, so he feels like this was like it's just started like 3 days ago, but in reality it started, like a year and a half ago, and he's just not moving on. Or was it super recent and she just moved on really quickly?
Yeah, I couldn't really tell. I mean, when she asks him, she's like, "Are you dating anyone?" Like, that kind of leads me to believe that it has been a while. Because I feel like you wouldn't ask someone that after like 3 days,
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't seem natural. And she doesn't seem like a like a bad person per se.
No, it's just the
I
way
don't.
that
Yeah, I don't
way
know.
in which she's written. She just like she's not an actively bad person, but like I said, the writing creates her as this like passively bad person,
Yeah.
and it's just like I don't think so. I don't think that's what you should be going for because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tough one. Chris, who reviewed it for the site, he really loved it. He gave it like an 8.5 or something. Like he thought it was pretty great, and I think that a lot of people will like it quite a bit. But I'm just kind of down the middle.
But that's again, I think that all comes back to what we said at the beginning, that like the visual presentation of this.
Yeah.
Helps it out so much.
Oh, tremendously.
Because if you don't have this, if you just have this shot like any other independent drama, you know,
oh god, no,
this would just be aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, I mean, I would check out so fast if it didn't look the way it did. Like, I would just be completely checked out. I wasn't like a big fan of how it ended either. I felt like it was a little bit underwhelming,
and I'm confused in a couple of ways with the ending. The ending with the driving, because it was.
He had a freak out, you know.
Yeah,
I think he wasn't in his right mind at that point. Like when something like that happens, like you know, he might have been concussed. Like he probably was,
more than likely.
So yeah, you do crazy wild stuff.
Crazy wild things.
All right, so that is The Killing of Two Lovers. Let's go ahead and give it a score. I'm at like a 6 on this one. Like I think that it's above average, but
yeah, because I mean, again, it comes down to the technical aspects of this. Lift it above average. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like there's no denying it. It looks good. I mean, this is technically speaking, this is a really well-made film.
Also, quick shout outs to the kids. I thought the kids all did a really great job.
They were good kids.
When I was
they
watching,
were very, very natural, especially when he comes to their house at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, like that was the thing.
They're giving him shit about the Mitch Hedberg jokes.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I was like, man, these kids are they act like they're actual siblings, and then afterwards I saw that they were actual siblings, and I'm like, okay, well that all makes sense then.
But they just nailed it. Like it felt like they just woke up at 2:00 in the morning, and they reacted in a sense that their dad is knocking on their window at 2:00 in the morning. But they also have the time to be like, okay, yeah, well let's discuss the Mitch Hedberg stuff a little bit. Like let's not just
that.
We could talk about it a little bit. We want to get back to sleep, but we also got to have you realize that the ones that you think are funny aren't funny.
Yeah. So, yeah. Props to the kids. They did a really great job, too. So,
and can you imagine, Adam Patterson coming forward and saying these kids did a good job? You know what that...
So that means they did a great job. If I say they did a good job, they did a fucking phenomenal job.
Yeah, Oscar worthy. Yeah, is what we're saying.
What are you going to give this out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 5, I think.
All right. There you have it. The Killing of Two Lovers is available now on VOD. Neon is putting that out. So if you're a fan of Neon, check it out. I feel like Neon is like the new A24.
Yeah. It seems like for stuff that's just it's just slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly different. And I didn't know Clayne Crawford. Like I thought he wasn't a person. Like I figured he was just an absolute nobody. But that's the guy that was like the Lethal Weapon remake or whatever.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that adds another aspect to it.
And he did a good job too. I mean, good performances.
But he's also he's like an abusive dude.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He got kicked off the show, right?
Yeah. So that added another layer to it where I'm like, it seems weird that it's an actually abusive dude playing a potentially abusive dude,
Oh man, I
and we're
forgot.
shedding him in in this sympathetic light.
I totally forgot about that whole thing. Yeah. Hmm. All right, well, might change things a little bit, but all right. Let's move on and talk about someone we've been watching. I think I want to start it off this week just because I got back to the theater this week.
Oh shit!
It's been
Watch
a
out!
year and 3 months since I've been in a movie theater.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. The last movie I saw was The Invisible Man, and that was when I was on vacation in New Zealand. So that was back in February 2020. And this past weekend I went back to the theater. I'm fully vaccinated. My wife is fully vaccinated, and apparently the theater that we went to was, doing all the safety protocols and stuff. So it was all very safe. Actually, we were the only. There was two other people in the theater, and they were like sitting like way far away from us. But
Nice.
anyway, I saw Spiral from the Book of Saw is the subtitle of this. So this is the Chris Rock written and starring Saw movie,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was just an interesting concept. Like, what is Chris Rock gonna do with a Saw movie?
Yeah.
It's directed by Darren Lynn Bozeman. He's the guy who did Saw 2, 3, and 4. So he's a veteran of the series. He knows how to make a Saw movie. But at the end of the day, it was just another Saw movie that just so happened to star Chris Rock. I mean, the thing is, like, they don't really deviate from the Saw formula too much, which is like a huge... I feel like it's just a huge missed opportunity here. Because you have Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson in this. Samuel L. Jackson plays Chris Rock's dad. They're both cops. And there's a copycat. There's like a jigsaw copycat that's happening. And they're targeting police officers. So there's a little bit of the kind of social commentary happening here. And, it's not very good, unfortunately. The script is just very rough. Like, there's these... Like, it's a serious movie, but they throw in these jokes, and like Chris Rock's kind of cracking jokes, but they all feel so dated, and it's just like none of them land. Like, none of the jokes land, and it's just very awkward. And unfortunately, Chris Rock just does not do a very good job in a dramatic role. Like, it's very difficult to take him seriously in this role. So it's just not very good. I rewatched all of the Saw movies actually before this, and I like most of the Saw movies. I mean, I don't recognize them as being good movies or anything, but they're fun and they're entertaining, and they have like crazy traps and stuff. And the traps in this one were good, but it was like surprisingly tame for a Saw movie. Like, some of the traps were clever. There was one that involved like these sort of Chinese finger traps. That one was really crazy and pretty brutal. But like the gore level is much lower, and there's like a much stronger emphasis on the sort of investigation aspect, which I thought was going to be kind of cool, but it turned out to be not really, because the story is just very predictable and bland. So unfortunately, I can't recommend Spiral. However, the overall experience of just going back to the movie theater was incredible. Like, I didn't really think that I was gonna think too much of it. Like, I was just like, oh cool, I'll get to go back to the movie theater. But it was a surprisingly like emotional experience for me. Like, I got so excited. Like, when I sat down and like I got popcorn and a drink and candy, like I did the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, you got to go.
Yeah.
You
I mean, it was
the whole 10
my
yards.
triumphant return, And when I sat down and the lights went down and the trailer started to play, I got so excited. Like, I literally got choked up at one point that I was just so happy to be back at the theater. And I really hope that everyone, when they can get back in the theater, they have a similar experience and just remember how magical that theater going experience is. And I'm going back to the movies today. Later on this afternoon, I'm going to see Army of
Oh,
the Dead.
watch
So
out. Oh my goodness.
yeah. So
Can't keep this guy away.
oh no, nah, back at it. Back at it.
That's the yesterday I went to like this little kind of like a little market that's been closed, and they finally opened up last week right down from my house. And I went yesterday, and it was just like it's just a little tiny market with just like local stuff. But my God, it was like the greatest thing in the world to be like. I still wore a mask inside and stuff, but for whatever reason, it was just like I love this so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like you take it for granted. You don't really think that it's gonna be you're gonna miss it that much. And I didn't. It's crazy. Like I didn't really like. I felt like I missed the theater. I missed going to the movies. But at the same time, like I was still seeing a lot of movies at home, and I have a giant TV and a sound system and stuff, so I try to mimic that theater experience as much as I can. But like, I guess I just didn't realize how much I missed it until I was actually like in that seat, and the lights went down, and I didn't even care. Like the movie sucked, but I didn't care. Like it was just, it's a really memorable experience. Like I don't think I'm gonna forget, that time that I went to see Spiral after the pandemic. Like that's going to be something that sticks with me probably forever.
Oh yeah. I watched something that was good, and that is Dead and Buried from 1981. Gary Sherman. Watch this on Shudder.
This is crazy. Did you? I saw that you saw this, and for those of you that subscribe to Shudder, I'm sure you probably all watched The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, which airs on Friday nights. And this past Friday, one of the two movies that he covered that they watched was Dead and Buried.
Oh, really?
Like, what are the odds of that? Like the thousands of horror movies, the hundreds that are on Shudder. It's he picks Dead and Buried the same week that you watch Dead and Buried.
That is very, very bizarre. But I gotta say, utilizing Letterboxd's, how you can sort by service and looking what Shudder has to offer, like the Shudder's out of control.
Oh my God, I know.
They're insane.
Firing on all cylinders right now.
So I had to check out Dead Bird, right? And my God, this movie is so fucking good.
Hell yeah.
It doesn't make a lick of sense. None of it makes sense. It feels like we just have some like kind of twist just for the sake of twists. Because as soon as the twist happens, you're just like, yeah, but the logistics,
when you
don't make sense.
Yeah, when the big reveal happens at the end, you're just like, okay, well, the whole movie doesn't. Everything falls apart when that reveal happens.
Yeah. But this is the beauty. Like, if you do movies right, you don't care. Like, obviously, when the sheriff walks into the room, Dobbs. I love how Dobbs, before the sheriff shows up, Dobbs is like, okay, let me get a bunch of, movie players here and set them up strategically in the room so they project on each wall. I'm going to have all these things. I just love the logistics of that, him planning that out, because it looks incredible. And as soon as that one, picture is shown, like right away, I was like, okay, I know who the guy is. You know what I mean? Like, I know what the other twist is going to be. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the other twists, they come back to it. And of course, as soon as that happens, that's when it happened before, but at that moment, I was just like, none of this makes sense. Like, this whole town, it doesn't make sense. Why is this happening? But the beauty of it is it's so well made and so goddamn entertaining that I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Like, I had that thought, and then immediately my second thought was like, who gives a shit? This was awesome.
I think a lot of people have that same sentiment. I think that is like a really common thing with this movie is like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all if you think about it for like a second, but it's
Yeah.
still just so much fun, and like the
Yeah, 'cause
makeup,
you're
like
just
the effects work for the most part is really good too. Like I thought the acid scene was not great looking, but
but it's also just insane of like how brutal
oh
they
yeah,
decide the murders to be. Like, I don't think they have to go that far,
no,
considering how they got everyone else. It was shit like the one was just a drowning. And but it seems like they really caught on to that, and they were like, "Hey, you know what?
let's just go wild
I
with
like
it.
the brutal thing's gonna be fun.
Let's
We
just
gotta do the brutal thing."
get crazy with it.
And then them having when they show up with all their cameras and stuff like that just added another element to it. Because can you imagine being murdered by a town and they all show up with cameras
Yeah,
to take your picture as you're dying?
yeah,
Like that's insanely fucked up.
it
It's
is.
just insane. It's just the way that they do things too. Like the kid, how the kid just shows up in the classroom the one day, and you're just like, oh Jesus Christ, they're gonna fucking kill anybody.
Yeah,
They don't care.
nope.
But man, I mean, this thing, it's just like the location too. The fact that it's in a New England harbor town, like this little fishing community. Ah, give me a break. This is something else.
Yeah,
This
love
movie.
the location.
And it's just nuts because I've never heard of Dead and Buried. I've never heard of this movie.
Oh really? It was a
And
video
I just
nasty.
happened to be, you're looking through Letterboxd and you just see the little posters or whatever, the little thumbnail. And I was like, I like the look of this. And then, you see when you click on the page and it has that header image, and you're like, oh, okay. It's a needle in the eye movie. That's promising.
You can see the regular one or the Last Drive-In one. Both of them are on Shudder.
So good. So good.
Speaking of Shudder, I saw Fried Berry, which is directed by Ryan Kruger. This was another one that actually they did a world premiere at the Last Drive-In last week. So Fried Berry is about it's a South African film about a drug addict who gets abducted by aliens, and the aliens possess him and then come back down to Earth and like poke around and just see what happens in the body of a human. And because this alien picked this heroin addict criminal as its host, basically the alien just goes around and gets into trouble, has a lot of sex. Very interesting movie. Like it's definitely not like anything I've really seen before. There's maybe one of the craziest abduction scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Like the alien, the way that they shot the alien abduction scene in this is freaking wild and awesome. It's like super surreal, really weird, and lots of really cool lights, and it was really, really cool abduction sequence. The rest of the movie's it's all right. So maybe I'll give it a light recommend. Fried Berry.
Yeah.
And,
Next movie I watched. Oh, okay.
Sorry, just one other quick thing. I was expecting this to be another one of those like sort of gross out horror movies.
Yeah, looking at the poster, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, like Greasy Strangler, one of those. It's not quite at that level. There's some like unpleasantness to it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not at that same level.
Okay. Yeah. And another movie off of Shudder. Thank you, Adam, for Shudder, because I feel like I just watch things on Shudder now.
I know. I watch it a lot too.
There's just so much stuff on there. It's ridiculous. I watched Shrew's Nest from 2014. This is a Spanish horror movie. I'm using horror lightly. It wasn't as horror leaning as I was hoping it to be. It plays out a lot like Misery or something, a movie of that ilk. It's Spain in the 1950s. This woman lives in her apartment. She's agoraphobic. She can't leave the house. She can't do it. Absolutely cannot. And in order to deal with it, and among other things that are brought to light as the movie goes on, she has this like uses a dosage of liquid morphine throughout the day. So one day, this guy falls down the stairs and apparently just really fell down the stairs. Like I maybe never used stairs before because like he like knocked himself out. He broke his leg. Like this dude is like completely fucked. And of course he lands right in front of her door. So she drags him in, gets him in bed, and like kind of this guy passes out from the pain. His head is bleeding. His leg is just like completely fucked. So she kind of like takes care of him, but she's also not being 100% truthful with the dude. Like she said that like the doctor came and it's a good idea for him to just like kind of hang out, take it easy. Whereas that never happened. She never had a doctor over. She likes the guy and she wants the guy to stay. And she's kind of out of her mind a little bit. Now her 18-year-old sister lives with her and she knows that she's not, the healthiest person mentally. So she tries to help this guy out as well. So they're kind of dueling with each other. And she just ends up doing a lot of disgusting things. And like it gets pretty fucked up towards the end. But it's just a slow burn that just really didn't work for me, mostly because of like the production value of this movie feels like it kind of feels like a daytime soap. Like the lighting's just really off. It just did not work for me.
That's unfortunate. That's Shrew's Nest on Shudder. Keeping with the Shudder theme, I saw.
Let's go Shudder.
I know this podcast is just going to be the Shudder podcast. I saw The Day of the Beast from 1995. This is directed by.
Wait a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is interesting because I'm pretty sure that this guy produced Shrew's Nest.
Oh, really?
And this movie I was either going to watch Dead and Buried or this movie, and we went with Dead and Buried over The Day of the Beast. So this is just weird.
Oh, okay. Well, you should have picked Day of the Beast because The Day of the Beast is pretty crazy. This is the same guy that did Witching and Bitching, which I liked a lot. And he did The Last Circus, which, if I remember correctly, I did not like. However, this one from 1995, it's pretty wild. So it's about a priest who discovers that the apocalypse is coming. And the Antichrist is about to be born. He figures out the day that it's going to happen, but he doesn't know where it's going to happen. So what he decides to do is he needs to contact the devil. So in order to contact the devil, he basically has to do everything. He has to turn into a horrible person. So he just goes around and is the worst person he can possibly be. So he like listens to black metal music and tries to like evoke the devil. Like he steals money from people. He pushes people on the ground. Like he was walking down the street and there was one of those street performers pretending to be like a statue. He just walks up and pushes him over. And he just goes around and tries to be an awful person in order to contact the devil. And he then teams up with this record store employee and this TV show host who has this show about like the occult, and the three of them basically have to team up and try to prevent the apocalypse from happening. It's super fun. Like I had a really great time with this movie. I think it could have gone a little bit heavier on the whole like a priest being a horrible person in order to evoke the devil. Like I think that premise alone is sort of a good hook.
Yeah.
And I think that they could have capitalized on that a little bit more, but it's still really fun. So I was like hankering for a 90s, like a solid 90s horror movie that I haven't seen before, and this one definitely scratched that itch for me. So I could definitely recommend checking out The Day of the Beast from 1995.
Oh yeah, I will definitely be checking that out.
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Oh, I know. That's all I watch. Shudder. Shudder. This episode brought to you by Shudder.
Oh, well. Do you have any more to mention? Because I have another Shudder one.
You have another Shudder?
I do. So,
yes.
I finally watched Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night II from 1987. This is a movie that's like eluded me for years. There were like maybe 2 or 3 times where I either meant to watch this movie and didn't, or like just didn't have time, or this actually played on Last Drive-In. I don't know if it was last season, but I ended up falling asleep. And so I finally was like, you know what? I'm kind of in the mood for like a solid 80s horror movie. Again, I wanted something that I hadn't seen before. So I was like, oh, that's right. Like I've been meaning to watch this forever. Finally sat down, watched it, freaking loved it. I don't understand. Like, I feel like maybe this is one of the biggest, like, under the radar. Like, a lot of people nowadays talk about this movie and sort of give it the praise that it's due. But I think that, like, you see that title and you're just like, it just seems like a bad sequel to a movie that wasn't, you know, great to begin with. The first Prom Night with Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't an incredible, you know, slasher movie or anything. But this movie's completely different. Like, it has nothing to do with the original Prom Night. So I think that the title is its biggest undoing. What you have here is, it's like a mashup of Carrie, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and The Exorcist. And it is done so well. The effects work is incredible. I loved the story. Just everything about this movie is awesome, and highly recommend this one. If you're looking for a solid 80s horror movie that's like fun and has good effects work, definitely check out Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, because it's great. Fucking great.
Yeah. This looks really good, and I'm definitely got to put this on the list. And I can tell, and I love when movies do this to someone where you enjoy it so much that it's really difficult to put it into words.
Yeah,
and essentially it just reduces you to just be like, this movie's awesome.
Yeah,
that's how you know something's really good. Like, you can't come up with anything better than like, holy shit, it's just really good.
Yeah, just check it out. Just check it out. All right, let's take a look at what we have on VOD, shall we? Weekenders is coming out. This is on the 18th. I'm not really sure what this is. Let's see. A scheduling mix-up at an Airbnb brings 420-somethings together, and I'm already checked out of that. Let's see. On the 20th, we have PG Psycho Gorman. That's going to be on Shudder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I would recommend that if you haven't seen that yet. It's a good bit of fun. It's a horror comedy. Lots of fun characters in it. Lots of fun costumes and monsters and stuff. If you're not familiar, it's about two young siblings who end up discovering this alien monster and have complete control over him. So he'll do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And hilarity ensues. On the 21st, we have The Retreat coming out. That's looks like a horror movie. The only way out is to fight.
Well, yeah, clearly.
So, yeah, just keep that in mind. We got Riders of Justice coming out. This is the crime thriller with Mads Mikkelsen. This looks really cool. I'm pretty stoked for this one. We should have a review up for this one by the time you're listening to this. We have American Fighter coming out. This is, I guess, probably an MMA type of thing. It's not a documentary, but it just doesn't look great. We got Sound of Violence coming out. I talked about that a few weeks ago. I think that was at South by Southwest, I want to say. Interesting concept. Didn't quite stick the landing for me, but got Pink, All I Know So Far, which is going to be on Amazon Prime. It's a rock doc about Pink, so there's that. We got Seance coming out. This is also on the 21st. This is from Simon Barrett. who you may know as the writer of You're Next and The Guest. Basically all the Wingard stuff. The two of them work together on a lot of their movies. Blair Witch. Yeah, pretty excited for this one, actually. This one looks pretty fun. It's with Suki Waterhouse.
Yeah, all right.
Got Blast Beat coming out on the cusp of the year 2000. Colombian brothers, Carly and Mateo, prepare to move to the United States for their last years of high school. It's a coming of age story, maybe. Got Drunk Bus coming out.
Drunk Bus?
Yeah. It's with Charlie Tahan, who's the dude from Ozark. I like him. This looks like I don't know. This could be interesting. It's about a dude who drives a bus around a college campus.
That's gotta be awful.
Oh my god, can you imagine? Holy shit.
No
apparently on the 22nd, there's a movie coming out called The Dark Hobby, which is about people who are trying to save coral reefs.
Okay.
But it's weird that it's coming out on a Saturday, so that's why I mentioned the date. Doesn't seem quite right, but hey, it is what it is. Blu-ray this week, we have Santa Sangre from 1989. That's going to be on 4K. It looks like is that a Vinegar Syndrome maybe, or a Severin? Looks like a Severin, yeah.
Oh boy.
Got The Sting coming out in 4K from 1973. Animal House from 1978. That's also coming out in 4K. Drunken Master 2 from 1994 coming out. Not in 4K.
Oh.
Got Grizzly from 1976 coming out. He Knows You're Alone from 1980. Eyes of a Stranger from 1981. Minari is coming out. It's the one from last year. That was my number one movie of the year, so I highly recommend that one.
All right.
Raya and the Last Dragon coming out. It was that's the Disney movie that just kind of came and went. Nobody's even talking about that one.
I didn't realize that came out.
Yep. Wildcats from 1986. Day of the Animals from 1977. I think that's the movie where like all the animals freaking kill people, I hope.
Oh, are you serious?
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Because
like,
that sounds
nature just starts attacking everybody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The depletion of the Earth's ozone layer causes animals above the altitude of 5,000 feet to run amok, which is very unfortunate for a group of hikers who get dropped off up there by helicopter just before the quarantine is announced.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I don't think I saw this movie, but I remember seeing like lots of clips from it and stuff. Like they just get attacked by everything, like birds and mountain lions and shit are just killing them left and right.
I love the idea of this.
We've got The Father coming out. That was another big release from last year. Snake Eyes from 1998. I feel like that comes out a lot. Like it's a lot of releases for some reason.
Fucking Snake Eyes.
Let's see. We've got The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, starring Bette Davis and Errol Flynn from 1939. The Sting is coming out in 4K. Tom and Jerry, that's the new one. That's quite bad. That's coming out on Blu-ray. Above Suspicion, that's a thriller that came out this past weekend on VOD. That's going to be coming out on Blu-ray. Baxter from 1989. Beware of the Dog That Thinks. This is about a dog that thinks, apparently.
Beware of the dog that thinks. What? It's not on Letterboxd.
Baxter. Yeah, I don't know.
Beware the dog that thinks.
Is it a show? No, it can't be a show, right?
What year is it?
1989. That's a movie.
Okay. Yeah, okay, here it is.
A sociopathic bull terrier. I'm not familiar with this, but I'm all about it.
Yeah. Huh.
It's a French horror film that blends thrills and black comedy. The inner thoughts of the brooding Baxter reveal that he is quite unhappy with his situation, living with an elderly woman who's afraid of him.
He doesn't like it.
Nope. Interesting. All right. Yeah, well, I'm going to have to add that to my list. Let's see. We got The Nest from last year coming out. Hunted. That's on Shudder. So you can check it out on there. Cosmic Sin. That's that sci-fi movie with Bruce Willis that is supposedly horrendous. We got Sun from earlier this year. Shithouse from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that title, actually. Because when I think of Shithouse, I think of like something like a gross out type of movie for some reason. You know, like Greasy Strangler, or like one of those.
Yeah.
Butt Boy or whatever. But it's not, I mean, it's like, from what I haven't seen the movie, but from what I gathered, it's your pretty typical like romantic comedy. So I'm just not sure if that title was the best decision.
I've seen a lot of good reviews for
Yeah,
it.
yeah, apparently it's good. So I don't know. That's about it for regular stuff. What do we have on Criterion this week?
Oh, we have Ho Xiaoxin's Flowers of Shanghai from 1998 coming out on Criterion, getting some Taiwanese films on the Criterion collection there.
Nice.
And this has new subtitle translation. It's got a brand new documentary on the making of the film, featuring behind the scenes footage and interviews and whatnot.
Woo.
All sorts of stuff. 4K digital restoration.
Damn. Nice.
Watch out.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, pick that up then. I think that'll do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulsenet and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on iTunes. That'd be extremely helpful. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.